Welcome to this daily PBJ devotional. Read Genesis 49, Job 15, and Proverbs 5 today. This devotional is about Proverbs 5. My son, pay attention to my wisdom. Incline your ear to my insight, that you may maintain discretion and your lips may preserve knowledge. Though the lips of the forbidden woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil, in the end she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps lead straight to Sheol. She does not consider the path of life, she does not know that her ways are unstable. So now, my sons, listen to me, and do not turn aside from the words of my mouth. Keep your path far from her. Do not go near to the door of her house, lest you concede your vigor to others, and your years to one who is cruel, lest strangers feast on your wealth, and your labors enrich the house of a foreigner. At the end of your life you will groan when your flesh and your body are spent, and you will say, "How I hated discipline, and my heart despised reproof. I did not listen to the voice of my teachers, or incline my ear to my mentors. I am on the brink of utter ruin, in the midst of the whole assembly. Drink water from your own cistern, and running water from your own well. Why should your springs flow in the streets, your streams of water in the public squares? Let them be yours alone, never to be shared with strangers. May your fountain be blessed, and may you rejoice in the wife of your youth. A loving doe, a graceful fawn, may her breasts satisfy you always. May you be captivated by her love forever. Why be captivated, my son, by an adulteress, or embrace the bosom of a stranger? For a man's ways are before the eyes of the Lord, and the Lord examines all his paths. The iniquities of a wicked man entrap him. The cords of his sin entangle him. He dies for lack of discipline, led astray by his own great folly. This is God's word. The first 4 chapters of Proverbs have mostly consisted of exhortations to become wise and descriptions of the benefits of wisdom. Here in chapter 5, Solomon turned to describing the kind of practical life choices that a wise person makes. He began with a lengthy, passionate plea to his son not to commit adultery. Verses 3 through 6 described the deceptive dangers of an adulterous woman. Verses 7 through 14 urged us not to go anywhere near adultery. Verses 15 through 20 gave us the antidote to adultery, which is to cultivate a passionate relationship with your spouse. Finally, verses 21 through 23 explain why all of this is important. And that's because God is watching, and his judgment will come on those who disobey his commands, including this command about adultery. Although this passage is written from the male perspective, it takes 2 to commit adultery. Just as there are seductive women in the world, there are also men who are skilled as pickup artists. Adultery is tempting because it makes you feel wanted. It revives the thrill that you had when you and the person you're married to now felt the ignition of attraction. Adultery happens in secret, so there's the added thrill of danger. Like many risky activities, the risk itself heightens the experience. But the cost of adultery far outweighs the benefits that come from it. I read somewhere that the average extramarital affair lasts about 6 months. After that point, the thrill begins to wane, and the stress of feeling guilty, the dishonesty of keeping it secret, the deceptions required to avoid detection, and the unexpected strain it causes to one's marriage begin to add up. the momentary pleasure or the brief pleasure of a few months that adultery promises does not last, but the consequences do. God's command, do not commit adultery, is a command for your good. It's designed for your happiness, not to keep you from being happy. It takes faith in God in the moments of temptation, but that faith will be rewarded. If your marriage is suffering from neglect, or worse than that, you and your spouse are both potentially at risk and vulnerable to the seductions of a third party. You can see verses 3 and 4 for that. The Lord urges us to turn away from that temptation and to turn toward your spouse. Addressing pain and problems in your relationship is harder than falling for someone who acts sweetly toward you and promises pleasure with no strings attached. But the rewards of working on your marriage and finding satisfaction there are so much greater than the temporary pleasures of sin. Ask God for the faith to do right if you encounter a temptation to adultery. Pray for yourself to have a pure heart and for your spouse to have an open heart toward you. If you're not yet married, trust the Lord that purity will be better for you over the course of your life than the temporary thrill that sexual sins offer. May God protect all our marriages and our hearts as we consider these words and think about how to apply them in our lives today. And if you found this devotional helpful, go to my website, dailypbj.com/subscribe, enter your email address, and that will subscribe you for free to my daily emails. Every morning you'll receive an email from me with a transcript of these devotionals, links to the daily Bible readings, as well as a link to the audio and video of these devotionals, and that will help you be in God's Word every day. I'm looking for financial support to help me in this work. If you would consider doing that on a monthly basis, please go to dailypbj.com/support. Please share this with someone who might be helped in their faith by it, and I'll see you next time. May God bless you. I hope you have a great day today.